Welcome to another episode of the Pondcast. Today's episode, Rillaboom Raid. I'm your host, Draco, and this is going to be different from our standard Battle at the Pond episodes due to the fact that we'll be focusing more on the Rillaboom Raid, looking over at some of the possible moves that it will be bringing, as well as Pokemon that the Pondcasters and I have come up with to counter this Mightiest Mark Rillaboom. Rillaboom is our Gen 8 Grass-type starter, which will have the Grassy Surge hidden ability. Activates Grassy Terrain for 5 turns, which Grassy Terrain heals the Pokemon that are on the ground by 1/16 hit point, as well as powers up grass moves by 30% and reduces the damage of Earthquake, Bulldoze, and Magnitude by 50%. Rillaboom's base stat total is 530 with hit points at 100, attack at 125, defense of 90, special attack of 60, special defense of 70, and a speed of 85. As has been the case with previous Mightiest Mark Pokemon raids, we expect to see Rillaboom open with a moveset that would give it some form of an advantage, especially on top of the grassy terrain. One of the moves discussed was Screech, which, when used, lowers defense stats by 2 stages, thus allowing Rillaboom, who's got a very impressive 125 base attack, to hit much harder with moves that it already would get stabbed with. The other opening move that we could see is Noble Roar, which would lower a Pokemon's attack and special attack stat by 1 stage each. This would make damaging Rillaboom a lot more difficult, and when you combine that with grassy terrain, means that it's got more sustainability because it's taking less damage. It would most likely have its signature move, Drum Beating, as well as access to the move Acrobatics, which we feel, although it's the only flying move that it does get, it would give the advantage against the fighting types that most people would be bringing to this particular battle. Given that raid Pokemon cannot hold items, Acrobatics would then deal 110 base damage, which would be devastating against any kind of fighting type Pokemon. Some of the other moves that we feel we're going to see are Boom Burst, which is a normal type special move with a base damage of 140, and given that the Terra typing is normal, it would get stabbed, and even though it's using the weaker of the 2 attack stats, the damage still could be pretty devastating if you're caught unaware. There's also the potential of seeing Growth being used, which would increase the attack and special attack stat of Rillaboom. Drain Punch may also be on the table, given that, combined with Grassy Terrain, would give Rillaboom a bit more sustainability. One of the potential egg moves that we can see is Leech Seed. When stacked upon Grassy Terrain, will make Rillaboom a lot more difficult to take down with constant HP regeneration. Since Grassy Terrain will be in effect, we don't foresee the use of Earthquake or Bulldoze from this particular Pokemon. However, Earth Power may be one to use, so Game Freak may have predicted the use of Iron Hands, which many people like to use as a go-to, and thus Earth Power may be a move that we'll see as well on Rillaboom. Now, the Pondcasters have submitted Mons to use for this particular raid, and starting off with Gurin, he has chosen Hisuian Goodra. The Terra type he gave it is Dragon, but can be switched for fighting. The item given is the Grassy Seed, which would boost defense while Grassy Terrain is active. The ability given is Sap Sipper. This would boost the attack stat of Goodra for every time it is hit with a grass type move. The attacks that he gave it were Curse to boost defense, Body Press, which deals damage based on the user's defense as opposed to attack stat, Life Dew for sustainability, and Chilling Waters to reduce Rillaboom's attack just in case he's taking too much damage. Gurin put 252 EVs in hit points and in defense, and the remaining 4 points into attack, and made it a Brave Nature to help keep Goodra in the fight a lot longer and not needing to worry too much about the attack stat directly, since his primary focus will be using Body Press. Sun Ryu submits a Mimikyu with the item Shell Bell. The Terra typing on this is Ghost, which would negate any and all of the normal type attacks that Rillaboom might be able to use. The moves given were Drain Punch to deal damage against Rillaboom's normal typing, as well as recover hit points, which in tandem with Shell Bell should keep Mimikyu in the fight a lot longer. Swords Dance to beef up its attack stat, Will-O-Wisp to burn Rillaboom and cut its attack damage, or Thunder Wave to paralyze it and hoping to slow it down or even force it to skip a turn. He's put 252 EVs into his hit points and the attack stat, hoping to capitalize on that Drain Punch Shell Bell combo, as well as made it an adamant nature. The Pokemon I'm bringing to this particular raid is Flamingo, holding the weakness policy and Terra typing into fighting type. The attacks I've given it are Mega Kick, which is a high damage physical fighting move, Low Kick, which deals damage based on the target's weight, in which case Low Kick would be 80 base, Swords Dance to boost the attack stat, and Roost for recovery. I put 252 EVs in both attack and defense for sustainability, as well as made it an impish nature to push that defense stat just a little bit higher. Alternative Pokemons that were also submitted was Gurren bringing in Hisuian Typhlosion, holding the Grassy Seed with the ability Blaze. Moves given were Will-O-Wisp to help drop that attack stat from Rillaboom, Flamethrower for stab damage, Focus Blast for double damage against Rillaboom, as well as Calm Mind to bring up that special attack. The Terra typing he gave it was Ghost, and he put his EVs in defense and attack both at 252, giving it a bold nature to bolster that defense stat while sacrificing the physical attack stat. And Sun Ryu bringing in an alternative of Tauros, Paldean version, fighting type, giving it the black belt and the ability Anger Point, and Terra typing it into the fighting type as well. The first attack is Raging Bull, which changes depending on typing of the user. Can also break barriers such as Light Screen and Reflect. He also follows up with Bulk Up for increased damage and defense, Body Press, and Close Combat, which when used drops the user's defense and special defense by one stage. He's put his EVs in attack and defense on this one at 252 and giving it an adamant nature. And with that brings our episode to a close. Let us know down below what you think about the build. What builds do you plan on bringing into this raid? Let us know down below. Also, be sure to share, like, subscribe, and let us know how we're doing. And as always, thank you for joining. Bye!